Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Baby Ballers. I don't know if you guys can see or notice, but finally the new mic is in. Hopefully, the audio quality is a lot better. Let me know in the comments below if you guys can tell the difference. Anyways, guys, in today's video, we're going to be talking about a slightly heavier topic, and that is the fact that Son Heung-min is thinking about or thought about retiring from the Korean national team. There's many layers to this story, so let's jump right into it. So where this story started from, guys, is after the match against Fulham, after Tottenham's match against Fulham, where they unfortunately lost 3-0. It was one of the most disappointing performances in the Ainge post-Koglu era, and Son Heung-min himself didn't have an amazing game, but he was definitely not at fault for the loss either. But Egon, who is one of the premier journalists and reporters covering Son Heung-min's time in Tottenham, he was able to catch up with Sonny and ask him a couple of questions before Sonny headed off to the national team. And I was able to translate the quotes in Korean. And so the original question was, Son, you're going to the World Cup qualifying round after today's game. It's a new team, and Egon is talking about the fact that it's a new manager, specifically Hwang Son-hong, and he selected a lot of new members. There's been a lot of roster turnover. You know, whether it's Paek Sung-ho, Chu Min-gyu, Kim Won-an, those guys coming in, or Park Yong-woo, Lee Gi-jae, and some of those guys going out. There's been a lot of roster turnover, and it's going to be really a very, very new team compared to the one we saw under Jurgen Klinsmann. And this was Son Heung-min's response to that question. He started off by not really knowing what to say. Well, the national team is always a special place for me, and it's a place, he paused, that has made me dream and hope. After the Asian Cup, I thought about a lot of things. I think it's true that I had a lot of thoughts. I was really serious about whether there was anything else I could do to help the national team. If I think of just myself, I think I could have stopped playing for the national team. To be honest, if I thought of myself, I could have stopped playing. I was responsible for the things that I promised the Korean football fans, and that I would do my best for the country. I only thought about the fans. I really wanted to make them smile. I don't know how much more I can make them proud, but I will do my best. This time, the national team will definitely be in a disordered atmosphere, and there are a lot of new players coming in, so I think we need to go into the camp knowing what will happen in the future. The national team is not a place where players come to gain experience. 50 million people are watching and cheering for us, so I believe every training session and every attitude towards the game should be more than 100%. Eating and sleeping well is even something that we should do for our 50 million fans. If we approach the national team with that attitude, I think all the players will be able to become stronger in this difficult situation. Going back and having two important matches, I hope I can lead the players and talk with the players to produce a good performance. There is a lot to unpack there in that long answer. And firstly, I think you can just tell based on, the number of pauses that Son Heung-min takes and just the candidness of his response, how much stress he's been going through after the Asian Cup. Obviously, you guys know it was a very disappointing tournament. Even though we made it to the semifinals, not one of our performances under Jurgen Klinsmann was convincing. And the epitome of that was the disastrous 2-0 loss against Jordan, where we failed to produce a shot on target. And, after that, there was the ping pong gate scandal, where it was shown that Lee Gang-in and Son Heung-min had a bit of a scuffle, and Lee Gang-in had to fly to England to see Son Heung-min and apologize. And we know how much negative press and consequences came from that due to that news being leaked in the first place. by the incompetent KFA. So, there's so much stress for Sonny, and I think just being the captain of a national team is incredibly difficult in a place where you have to take so much responsibility. We know how passionate the Korean football fans are, maybe sometimes to a fault, where players and their families are scrutinized when performances um, aren't up to their standards. And on the other hand, players can be worshipped when things go to plan. And, having the bulk of that responsibility on his shoulders as a superstar in modern football, I think that you're seeing the consequences of that. Finally showing in Sonny's mental health, and also I think it's difficult to ignore the physical aspect of it as well. Um, we saw it first, with Park Ji-sung when he was playing for the Korean national team, just the amount of travel that you have to do between England and Korea, playing in the Premier League and then going to Korea to play for the national team, and that's a lot of wear and tear on the body, and I think that's a big reason that contributed to Park Ji-sung's early retirement, firstly from the national team and then eventually from his club football. And for Son Heung-min, it's the exact same thing. He's traveling thousands of kilometers um, every 3 or 4 months to represent his country. He's dealing with jet lag all the time. So that's just an immense amount of physical stress that the body is undergoing while playing every 2 to 3 days in the Premier League and in England as well. If Tottenham ever progress in the FA Cup or if they're playing European competitions. So I think Sonny is saying, here when he's saying, if I think of myself, I think I could have stopped playing for the national team. He's basically saying if I'm selfish and if I'm thinking about my playing career and extending the longevity of how much I can play, then I would have stopped. I would have stopped playing for Korea because really it's hurting my body. It's not good for my mental health. But what's amazing to see is that, despite these adversities, despite these obstacles, he knows the responsibility of being the guy for Korean football, how much expectations that the Korean fans have for him, and how much joy that he can provide them. And just the thoughtfulness of that is incredible. And he's saying, until my, body stops working, until I physically cannot contribute to this national team, until then, I'm going to keep fighting and making sure, that our national team is headed in the right direction. And to end off, guys, I think, we're seeing so much passion and dedication from our players. And it's unfortunate because the KFA, and I'm really, really sorry to everyone who's annoyed about us continuing to talk about the KFA's faults, but they need to create an environment where players love and look forward to playing for our national team, an environment where it's a break from club football, where they get to see, their family and friends when they're in Korea, but also, intermingle amongst fellow Korean players as well and enjoy the football that they're playing in the national team. In an era where many, many Korean players are starting to play in Europe and experiencing the high level tactical training and physical training that the European teams offer, I think it's imperative that the KFA hires a coach and its staff that is able to meet those high expectations that we see. If you're playing under Ange Postecoglou like Sonny is, if you're playing under Luis Enrique like Igangin is, or if you're playing under Thomas Tuchel or Julian Nagelsmann, would have been, for Kim Min-jae with Bayern. Even the fringe European players, whether it's Cho Gyusong, Yang Hyun-jun at Celtic, Hwang In-bum in Serbia, these guys are getting elite training and support in Europe. And if those standards drop coming to the national team, which player is going to look forward to that? So I think the KFA has a really big task on their hands to make sure that the players are satisfied, to make sure that the players are happy and smiling playing for Korea, because that positive energy and that positive mindset is going to reflect in our results. Do I believe that the KFA has the ability to um, hire someone who can satisfy our players' expectations? No, but it's nonetheless it's something that has to get done, and we really can't hear Son Heung-Min talk about retiring from the national team. He's our treasure. He's a generational player that we may not ever see again in our lifetimes. So we got to protect him. We got to make sure that he's happy, and that he is proud of being the captain of our national team. Anyways, guys, that brings us to an end to this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to like and subscribe to Bibbing Ballers, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.